Sairam students, and welcome back in this session. We will continue with the chapter 4 from your Moments textbook, that is In the Kingdom of Fools. So first let's do a quick recap of what we have learned in the earlier sessions. In the kingdom of fools, both the king and his minister were foolish. Everything here happened in the reverse. Like we saw, they slept during the day and worked at night. A guru and a disciple visited the kingdom. They were astonished to find that everything was available for a single duddu. Duddu means a currency out there, so everything was available for a single rupee. The guru left the kingdom, but the disciple continued to stay. The guru couldn't continue to stay in this kingdom of fools, so he left, but the disciple continued to stay because everything was available very cheap. Once a thief broke into a merchant's house, but was killed as the wall collapsed. The merchant was summoned to the court, following which the blame game began. So the thief died and the merchant was called, and then the blame game started. The merchant blamed the bricklayer who had built the weak wall. The bricklayer in turn blamed the dancing girl who was distracting him continuously. The dancing girl blamed the goldsmith, and the goldsmith blamed the merchant whose wall had actually collapsed. So this blame game continued. Like the merchant blamed the bricklayer, then the dancing girl, the goldsmith, and finally the merchant whose wall had actually collapsed. The merchant in turn blamed his father who was dead. He explained that his father had actually given the jewelry to the goldsmith and it was he who needs to be blamed, but he was dead. The king ordered to execute the merchant. The merchant, though, was too thin for the stake. So now the merchant had to be executed. However, he was found to be very thin for the stake. That is, the stake is the place, the post where you execute the person. They then found the fat disciple. So now they searched for a person who would fit the stake and they found the fat disciple. Now let's continue. What have I done wrong? I am innocent. I am a sannyasi, he cried. So here the disciple was unable to understand what was actually wrong, why they were taking him to the king. That may be true, but it's the royal decree that we should find a fat man enough to fit the stake, they said, and carried him to the place of execution. So royal decree means it's orders by the court. The king has ordered us, so we need to take you to him because he fit the stake very well. Now here the disciple was panicked. He remembered his wise guru's words. This is a city of fools. You don't know what they will do next. While he was waiting for death, he prayed to his guru in his heart, asking him to hear his cry wherever he was. So when he was taken for this execution, he remembered what his guru had actually said, that this was a kingdom of fools and anything can happen here. So when he was waiting for the death, he prayed to his guru and wanted his guru to appear before him as soon as possible wherever he was. The guru saw everything in a vision. He had magic powers. He could see far and he could see the future as he could see the present and the past. So this guru had magical powers. He could visualize things of the past, present, and future. He arrived at once to save his disciple who had got himself into such a scrape to love of food. Scrape means he had got himself into such a difficult situation just because he wanted to eat food which was available there very cheap. So immediately the Guru arrived to save his disciple. As soon as he arrived, he scolded the disciple and told him something in a whisper. Then he went to the king and addressed him. O wisest of kings, who is greater, the Guru or the disciple? So as soon as he came, first of all, he scolded his disciple for whatever problems he has landed into. And then they had a small talk in a very soft voice, that is in a whisper. And finally, the Guru addressed the king as being the wisest. He asked the king who was greater, the Guru or the disciple. Of course, the Guru, no doubt about it. Why do you ask? This was put by the king. He said that Guru was always wiser and greater. Then put me to the stake first. Put my disciple to death after me. So here the Guru pleaded to the king that he should be put to stake first, he should be executed first, followed by the disciple. When the disciple heard this, he understood and began to clamor. Clamor in the sense requesting, protesting that me first, you brought me here first, put me to death first, not him. So now he was protesting that he should be put to death first, not the Guru. The Guru and the disciple now got into a fight about who should go first. The king was puzzled by this behavior. He asked the Guru, "Why do you want to die? We chose him because we needed a fat man for the stake." So now, because of the fight happening there, the king was puzzled as to what was actually happening. So he asked the Guru why he wanted to die, because they chose this disciple as they wanted a fat man who could fit the stake very well. So he was little confused and puzzled. The Guru replied here, "You shouldn't ask me such questions. Put me to death first," replied the Guru. "Why? There's some mystery here. As a wise man, you must make me understand." So here the king wanted to know what the exact mystery was, what was happening. As he was a wise person, he needs to explain the entire thing to the king. So king wanted an explanation from the Guru as to why he wanted to die first. "Will you promise to put me to death if I tell you?" asked the Guru. The king gave him his solemn word. In a sense, the king promised that he would surely put him to death if he tells the truth, what was exactly happening. The Guru took him aside out of the servant's earshot and whispered to him, "Do you know why we want to die right now, the two of us?" So he tried to explain why he was actually doing. The king wanted to know. So he was explaining to the king. "We have been all over the world, but we have never found a city like this or a king like you. That stake is the stake of the God of justice. It's new. It has never had a criminal on it." So here the Guru takes the king aside and says that he has never seen a king like him or a city like this before, and that the stake that was made was very new. It was a lucky stake, and there was no criminal who had been executed on that stake. So it was a stake of the god of justice. Whoever dies on it first will be reborn as the king of this country, and whoever goes next will be the future minister of this country. So he also told that because it was lucky, so whoever is born first would be the king, and the person getting executed second would be the minister. We are sick of our ascetic life. It would be nice to enjoy ourselves as the king and the minister for a while. So he said that he and his disciple wanted to enjoy the life of a king and a minister. Now keep your word, my lord, and put us to death. Me first, remember. The king was now thrown into deep thought. He didn't want to lose the kingdom to someone else in the next round of life. He needed time. So when the king heard this, he was into deep thought. As you know, that the king was really a foolish person, so he wanted to be the king even in the next birth. So he started thinking how to stop this guru from getting executed. So he ordered the execution postponed to the next day and talked in secret with his minister. It's not right for us to give over the kingdom to others in the next life. Let's go on the stake ourselves and we'll be reborn as king and minister again. So the king and the minister here had a talk, and they decided that they would not allow anyone else to take over the kingdom. So they decided that they would go on the stake themselves. They both will be reborn as king and minister again. So you can see how foolish they were. Holy men do not tell lies, he said, and the minister agreed. So he told the executioners, we'll send the criminals tonight. When the first man comes to you, put him to death first. Then do the same to the second man. Those are my orders. Don't make any mistake. So this was the order that he gave to the executioners. The king stating that the criminals would be executed at night. So whoever comes first should be put to death first, and same would follow with the second one. That night the king and his minister went secretly to the prison, released the guru and the disciple, disguised themselves as the two, and as arranged beforehand with loyal servants, were taken to the stake and promptly executed. So here the king and his minister let go the guru and his disciple, and they dressed themselves. Disguise means they dressed themselves as the guru and the disciple, and as arranged were taken to the stake, and they were executed as per the orders given. When the bodies were taken down to be thrown to the crows and vultures, the people panicked. They saw before them the dead bodies of the king and the minister. The city was in confusion. So now, when the bodies were thrown to the crows and the vultures, the people were really frightened. They didn't know what it was. They found it was the dead bodies of their king and the ministers. So there was total confusion because it was decided that the guru and the disciple would be put to death. So they were in total confusion. All night they mourned and discussed the future of the kingdom. Some people suddenly thought of the guru and the disciple and caught up with them as they were preparing to leave town unnoticed. So now the people were really worried as to who would rule them, who would take care of the kingdom. So there were people who thought that we could approach the Guru and the disciple and speak to them regarding the same. We people need a king and a minister, said someone. Others agreed. They begged the Guru and the disciple to be their king and their minister. It didn't take many arguments to persuade the disciple, but it took longer to persuade the Guru. So they approached them and begged to them that they take over the kingdom as the king and minister. However, the disciple was very much ready to continue his stay there because he enjoyed the food out there. However, the Guru was a little hesitant and it took time for them to persuade the Guru. They finally agreed to rule the kingdom of the foolish king and the silly minister on the condition that they could change all the old laws. So finally the Guru and the disciple, they decided to rule the kingdom, but on a condition. They put forth a condition that they would change all the old laws. What were the old laws? That of working during the night and taking rest during the day. So everything would be changed. All the old laws would be changed. From then on, night would again be night and day would again be day. And you could get nothing for a dudu. It became like any other place. So everything was changed. Now things were not available just for a single dudu. There was good business, there was prosperity in the kingdom. So it became a place wherein all were happy and like any other kingdom. So you understood how the Guru and the disciple, the Guru, because of his wisdom, saved this particular kingdom from the, the rule of the foolish king and the minister. So this is a Kannada folk tale written by A.K. Ramanujam from the Folk Tales of India. Okay. So now let's quickly understand what we learn, what is the moral that we understand from this particular story. One should stay away from foolish people, else one is bound to suffer. So we need to be very careful when if we are in the company of some foolish people. In order to tackle foolish people, one should employ wisdom and not logic. You have to be really wise. You should have the presence of mind so that you could tackle these foolish people. The Guru does not argue or reason the innocence of his disciple. Rather, he flatters the king and manages to convince him that the new stake was lucky. So, in the story, you understood this. He did not do any arguments. However, he convinced the king that the new stake was very lucky and he took over the kingdom. He not only saves the life of his disciple but also rids the kingdom of the foolish king and his silly minister. In addition, he becomes the next king and his disciple the next minister. So, this is a story where wisdom and presence of mind plays a great role for you to save your life. So, you need to be very careful if you come across such situations. Okay, so now just go through the value points of this particular story, the lesson. These are the points. You can make a note of them in your book, like as to how the kingdom was, what type of people lived there, what was the work they did, how a guru and his disciple visited, what kind of a business was there, how the disciple grew fat because he was very fond of food there. Then there was a thief, this incident of the wall collapsing, the blame game beginning. The thief's brother complained to the king about the merchant. The merchant blamed the bricklayer. The bricklayer blamed the dancing girl. The dancing girl blaming the goldsmith, and the goldsmith finally blaming the merchant's father. So, when the merchant was asked to be executed, however, he was too thin for that stake. Then the disciple was brought in. The disciple prayed to his guru, and his guru was there. So, guru had magical powers and he understood what was happening. He made an escape plan. They started fighting amongst themselves. The king then asked the reason about it and what the guru explained about the rebirth. So the king freed both of them and he executed himself first so that he would be born as a king. So after this, the people requested the guru to become the king and the disciple the minister. So they agreed on this condition and everything came back to normal like any other kingdom. So this is the lesson. This is a story where you need to understand that you need to be really wise and have a presence of mind. Okay, so now you will be getting a link. On that link you need to answer the questions provided and submit the same on that particular link. Thank you.